Session number 2. Activities. Watch the video, The Pygmalion Effect and the Power of Positive Expectations. Complete an outline test about the video and check your answers. Write 2 letters, one about a significant teacher in your life and the second one about your parents. Explain the influence they made in your life. Why the study of motivation and learning English? Motivation and learning. Motivation is an essential factor affecting learning. The weaker learners are often those with least motivation. Their motivation is often reduced by the sense of failure as they find the subject difficult and make little progress. Teaching is a hard job when students make an effort to learn, but when they make no effort, it is an impossible one. This simple fact, well known to all teachers, is the reason so many students are learning so little in school. Despite their hard work, teachers are confronted daily with increasing numbers of students who make little or no effort to learn. Furthermore, for many students, the main reason for studying English is that it's part of the school syllabus. This is not a very motivating reason in itself. Positive expectations. It's important to consider the basic needs a student has. Not only the most physiological need to stay alive and reproduce, but the 4 psychological needs: belonging, which includes love, power, freedom, and fun. Therefore, a good school could be defined as a place where almost all students believe that if they do some work, they will be able to satisfy their needs enough so that it makes sense to keep working. If what is being taught does not satisfy the needs about which a student is currently most concerned, it will make little difference how brilliantly the teacher teaches. The student will not work to learn. The Pygmalion Effect. Now we will review a video called The Pygmalion Effect and the Power of Positive Expectations. Watch it carefully as you will take an online test afterwards.
Does it make a difference whether your teacher believes that you are a high performer or a low performer? That you are a late bloomer, that even though you haven't demonstrated your intellectual ability, you will blossom, or you're not a good student or you're a good student. Psychologist Robert Rosenthal and school principal Lenore Jacobson did a remarkable study some years ago in which they told school teachers, elementary school teachers, that on the basis of some psychological tests, some of their students, some of the children in their class were designated as late bloomers. Even though they hadn't shown any academic success, they are expected to bloom. The amazing thing is that in a very short time, the teachers began to treat those children differently than the other kids. Those kids began to think of themselves differently, and in the end, they actually performed significantly better than the other kids. They were transformed by the teacher's positive expectations, the opposite of Jane Elliott's study, in which teachers' negative expectations that the teacher infused led them to think of themselves as inferior. So let's see the Pygmalion effect in action in these classrooms set up by Rosenthal and Jacobson.
Positive expectations can change a person's perception of a situation just as dramatically as negative expectations. Psychologists call this the Pygmalion effect, after the George Bernard Shaw play of the same name, in which even an uneducated ragamuffin can be transformed into a proper society lady. In an experiment conducted at an elementary school like this one, psychologist Robert Rosenthal and school principal Lenore Jacobson took the Pygmalion effect one step further.
What we wanted to show was the extent to which teachers' expectations could actually affect pupils' intellectual performance, for example, their IQ scores. So what we did was we tested everybody in a school with a test that pretended to be a test that would predict academic blooming, so-called Harvard test of inflected acquisition, and allegedly on the basis of that test, but not really, we gave each of the teachers in the school the names of a handful of children in her classroom that would get smart in the academic year ahead. These kids' names were taken out of a hat. We chose them by means of a table of random numbers. The children themselves did not know in any direct way that teachers were holding certain expectations for them. Teachers were told not to tell the kids, and of course we didn't tell the children either. So the children never knew.
6 times something that's close to 32. Good. 6 times 5.
And then when we tested the children a year later, we found that those kids who'd been alleged to their teachers to be showing or going to show intellectual gains, in fact showed greater intellectual gains than did the children of whom we'd said nothing in particular. So the kids actually got smarter when they were expected to get smarter by their teachers. We've come to feel that there are really 4 factors that operate in the mediation or communication of these self-fulfilling prophecies, especially in the classroom, but not only in the classroom. So what are these 4 things that teachers tend to do differently to kids for whom they have more favorable expectations? The first factor is the climate factor. Teachers tend to create a warmer climate for those children for whom they have more favorable expectations. They're just nicer to them, both in terms of the things they say and also in the nonverbal channels of communication. The other very important factor is the so-called input factor. That one probably won't surprise anyone. Teachers teach more material to those kids for whom they have more favorable expectations. After all, if you think a kid is dumb and can't learn, you're not going to put yourself out to try to teach them very much. 2 other factors, though, make a difference. One is the response opportunity factor. That is, kids get more of a chance to respond if the teachers expect more of them. They call on them more often. When they do call on them, they let them talk longer, and they help and shape with them the answers that the kids speak out, kind of working together to put the response out. The last is feedback. The feedback factor works in this way. As you might expect, if more is expected of a kid, the kid is praised more, positively reinforced more for getting a good answer out. But interestingly enough, is given more differentiated feedback when they get the wrong answer. One of the ways in which you can sometimes tell a little bit that the teacher does not have very high expectations for a kid is that the teacher is willing to accept a low-quality response, or it won't really clarify what would have been a good quality response. Maybe because he or she feels, well, what's the use? The kid's not smart enough to profit from this additional clarification. So those are the 4 factors: climate, input, response opportunity, and feedback.